The pain came in waves. Mia's arm hung at a wrong angle, bone grinding against bone with every shallow breath she managed to drag into her lungs. The cold towel of her bathroom floor pressed against her cheek, and somewhere in the background, she could hear Derek's voice through the thin apartment door, casual as if he hadn't just snapped her radius like a twig. "Baby, come on. You know I didn't mean it. You made me do it." Her phone lay 3 inches from her face, screen cracked but still glowing. She had 17 minutes before he came back. Maybe less. Derek always came back. Her fingers shook as she reached for it, vision blurring at the edges. She needed to text someone. Anyone. Her sister. Her friend Jenna. Someone who could call 911 without asking questions she didn't have the strength to answer. She typed with her left hand, each letter a small victory against the darkness creeping in from the periphery. He broke my arm. Please help. Apartment 4B, 2847 West Division. She hit send before checking the number. Wrong. The realization came too late, floating through her morphine-thick consciousness like a leaf on water. That wasn't Jenna's number. That was, she didn't know. Someone from the coffee shop. A wrong digit in her contacts. The response came in 40 seconds. Don't move. I'm coming. 3 words. No questions. No demands for explanation. And then, lock your bathroom door. Put something heavy against it. Stay on the floor. I need 8 minutes. Mia stared at the screen, her brain trying to process through the pain haze. This person, this stranger, hadn't asked if it was real. Hadn't asked her to call the police. Hadn't told her to calm down or questioned whether she was overreacting. They were coming. She used her good arm to drag herself up, wedged her hip against the bathroom door, and shoved a small linen cabinet in front of it. It wasn't much. But it was something. Derek's voice got louder. Mia, open this door right now. We need to talk about your attitude problem. The bathroom door handle rattled. Her phone buzzed again. 7 minutes. What's his name? She typed, Derek Morrison. Good. Stay quiet. I'm handling this. Mia pressed her forehead against the cabinet, cradling her shattered arm against her chest. The pain was turning into something else now, something distant and floating. Shock? Probably. She'd seen enough medical dramas to recognize the signs. The apartment door splintered. Not her bathroom door. The front door. Derek's voice changed pitch. What the fuck? The sound that followed wasn't a gunshot. It was worse. Efficient. The wet crack of cartilage, a choked scream cut short, and then silence so complete Mia could hear her own heartbeat thundering in her ears. Footsteps. Measured. Unhurried. A knock on the bathroom door. 3 times. Controlled. Mia. The voice was male, accented, and utterly calm. My name is Kong Ji-woo. I'm the person you texted. Your ex-boyfriend is unconscious in your living room. He won't hurt you again. But I need you to open this door so I can see your arm. She should have been terrified. Every survival instinct she had left should have been screaming at her to stay hidden, to call the police, to do anything except open a door for a man who'd just broken into her apartment and rendered Derek unconscious in under 30 seconds. But the pain in her arm had reached a crescendo, and something in that voice, that careful, controlled voice, made her believe him. She pushed the cabinet aside with her foot and unlocked the door. The man who entered didn't look like salvation. He looked like vengeance wrapped in a $3,000 suit. Kong Ji-woo was tall, maybe 6'2", with black hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from granite. A thin scar bisected his left eyebrow, and his eyes, dark as obsidian, tracked over her with the precision of someone assessing a tactical situation. He knelt. The movement was fluid, controlled, bringing him to her level on the bathroom floor. This close, she could smell cedar and something darker underneath. Gunpowder, maybe. Or just danger. May I? His hand hovered near her injured arm, waiting for permission. Mia nodded, not trusting her voice. His fingers were gentle as they examined the brick, barely touching but seeing everything. Close fracture. Radius, probably ulnar too. You need a hospital. He pulled out his phone, never breaking eye contact. I'm calling my doctor. He'll meet us at Northwestern Memorial. No police report, no questions you don't want to answer. I don't. I can't afford, you're not paying. He said it like the matter was already settled, then stood and held out his hand. Can you walk? She took his hand. Let him pull her up. Steadied herself against him when the room tilted. In the living room, Derek lay crumpled near the shattered door, his nose clearly broken, zip-tied hands behind his back. He was conscious now, eyes wide with terror as they tracked Ji-woo's movement. Please, Derek wheezed. I don't know who you are, but this is between me and my girlfriend. Ji-woo's hand shot out, gripping Derek's jaw with enough force to make him whimper. She's not your girlfriend. She's not your anything. And if I ever see your name, your face, or your shadow near her again, I'll make sure you never use your hands for anything except learning to feed yourself. He released Derek's face with a small shove. My men are outside. They'll make sure you understand the terms of your new life. Not if you comprehend. Derek nodded frantically. Ji-woo guided Mia toward the door with a hand at the small of her back, careful not to jostle her injury. Two men in dark suits stood in the hallway, silent, watching, waiting. Clean this up, Ji-woo said without looking at them. Make sure he understands the consequences of poor decisions. Non-lethal. I want him functional enough to be afraid. One of the men nodded and entered the apartment. Mia's brain was trying to catch up, but the pain and shock made everything feel distant, like she was watching herself from outside her body. Who are you? Someone who answers desperate texts. Ji-woo pressed the elevator button with his free hand. And someone who doesn't believe in second chances for men who break women's bones. The elevator doors opened. He guided her inside, his presence filling the small space with something that felt like safety and danger in equal measure. I texted the wrong number, she said. His obsidian eyes met hers, and something flickered in their depths. No. You texted exactly the right number. You just didn't know it yet. The car was a Maybach, black as midnight, with leather seats that probably cost more than her monthly rent. Mia sat in the back, cradling her arm, while Ji-woo made quiet phone calls in Korean beside her. She caught fragments, a name that sounded like Dr. Choi, an address, instructions that were clearly orders despite the respectful tone. He'll be waiting, Ji-woo said, ending the call. Northwestern Memorial has a private entrance. No emergency room, no paperwork you don't approve first. Why are you helping me? He was quiet for a long moment, his profile illuminated by passing streetlights. Chicago's November night pressed against the windows, cold and indifferent. I don't let people bleed in my city, he finally said. Not when I can stop it. Your city? His smile was slight, dangerous. Parts of it. The implication settled over her like a weight. This man, this stranger who'd materialized from a wrong number, wasn't a good Samaritan. He was something else entirely. What's your full name? Jiwoo asked. Mia Chung. How long were you with Derek Morrison? 2 years. He wasn't always. She trailed off, realizing how pathetic it sounded. He wasn't always like this. The refrain of every abuse victim in history. They never are. Jiwoo's voice carried no judgment, only cold fact. Until they are, and then they don't stop. How many times did he hurt you before tonight? Mia closed her eyes. This was the first time he broke something. But not the first time he hurt you. No. The car pulled into an underground garage, smooth and silent. Dr. Choi was indeed waiting, a compact man in his 50s with steady hands and kind eyes that asked no questions. The examination room was private, sterile, and blessedly warm. Mia sat on the table while Dr. Choi manipulated her arm with careful precision, taking x-rays, murmuring observations to Jiwoo in Korean. Clean break, Dr. Choi finally said in English. No surgery needed. Cast for 6 weeks, pain management, physical therapy. You're lucky. Lucky. The word felt absurd. Jiwoo stood by the window, watching the city lights below like a king surveying his territory. She'll need somewhere safe to stay. Her apartment isn't secure. Mia started. Your apartment has a broken door and your ex-boyfriend knows where you live. Jiwoo turned, those obsidian eyes pinning her in place. You're not going back there tonight. Probably not ever. My men are collecting your belongings as we speak. You can't just. I can. I am. He moved closer, each step measured and deliberate. You send me a text asking for help, Mia-chan. I'm helping. That means you're under my protection until you're healed and safe. Those are my terms. And if I say no, then I'll respect your choice and make sure you have the resources to protect yourself. He said it simply, but something in his expression suggested he didn't expect her to refuse. But I'd prefer you say yes. Dr. Choi finished wrapping the cast, forest green fiberglass that would be her companion for the next 6 weeks. All set. I'll send pain medication to wherever you're staying. Jiwoo's penthouse, apparently. The address was Gold Coast, 40th floor, with floor-to-ceiling windows that made Mia's knees weak just looking at them. The space was all marble and steel and glass, modern, minimalist, and utterly devoid of warmth. Guest room is through there. Jiwoo gestured to a hallway. Your things will arrive within the hour. Kitchen is fully stocked. My housekeeper comes Tuesdays and Fridays. Mia stood in the center of the enormous living room, feeling small and lost. I can't afford this. You're not paying. He shrugged out of his suit jacket, revealing a shoulder holster she'd somehow missed. The sight of the gun should have terrified her. Somehow it didn't. Consider it an investment in civic responsibility. You're not a good Samaritan. No. He met her eyes. I'm not. I'm Kong Jiwoo, and I run most of the Korean organized crime in Chicago. I launder money, move guns, and make people disappear when necessary. I'm not good, Mia. But I am useful. And right now, you need useful more than you need good. The honesty was almost refreshing. No pretense. No lies about being a legitimate businessman or misunderstood entrepreneur. Just brutal truth delivered with the precision of a scalpel. Why? She asked. Why help me at all? You don't know me. He was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, My sister sent a text like yours once. Wrong number, desperate, terrified. The person who received it ignored it. By the time someone else found her, it was too late. His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. I don't ignore those texts anymore. Nobody in my organization does. Wrong number or right number, doesn't matter. Someone asks for help, we answer. The weight of that confession settled between them, heavy and sacred. I'm sorry, Mia whispered. Don't be sorry. Be safe. He moved toward the hallway. Get some rest. We'll talk in the morning about next steps. Ji-woo. He paused, turned. Thank you. His expression softened almost imperceptibly. You're welcome, Mia-chan. And for what it's worth, I'm glad you texted the wrong number. Welcome to Ruthless Romance Tales. And honey, you just stepped into something you can't unsee. If you've been riding with me, you know we don't do safe here. We do dangerous. We do addictive. We do the kind of love that brands your soul and refuses to let go. And if you're new, buckle the hell up because what you're about to witness is a collision so violent, so inevitable, it'll rewrite everything you thought you knew about romance. Hit that like button like your life depends on it. Subscribe because you're already hooked. And smash that notification bell because missing what comes next would be a crime. Now, let's watch how the Iron Lotus's life changed forever. Mia woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the smell of coffee. Her arm throbbed despite the pain medication, a dull reminder that last night hadn't been a fever dream. She was in Kong Ji-woo's guest room, in his penthouse, under the protection of a man who'd casually admitted to being a crime lord. The absurdity should have sent her running. Instead, she felt safer than she had in 2 years. The guest room was luxurious in an impersonal way, high-tech count sheets, designer furniture, abstract art that probably cost more than her car. Her belongings had indeed arrived, boxes stacked neatly by the closet. She found clothes in her size hanging in the closet. Not her clothes. New ones. Soft cashmere sweaters, well-cut jeans, simple dresses. Expensive but not ostentatious. How did he know her size? Mia dressed carefully, working around the cast, and followed the coffee smell to the kitchen. Ji-woo stood at the island, reading something on his tablet, dressed in dark slacks and a charcoal sweater that probably cost what she made in a month. His hair was still damp from a shower, and in the morning light, he looked almost human. Coffee's fresh, he said without looking up. Cream is in the fridge. Sugar in the cabinet to your left. She poured a cup with her good hand, added cream, and stood awkwardly by the island. Did you sleep? Some. He set down the tablet. Your ex-boyfriend is currently in holding at a private facility. He'll be released this afternoon with a restraining order, documentation of his assault, and a very clear understanding that coming near you again would be unwise. You can do that. Just make a restraining order appear. I know judges. His smile was slight. And when I explain the situation with appropriate context, they tend to be cooperative. Appropriate context probably meant threats, leverage, or both. Mia should have been horrified. Instead, she felt a savage satisfaction at the thought of Derek being afraid for once. What happens now? She asked. Now you heal. You stay here until you're ready to decide what you want next. Job, apartment, new city if you prefer. I have resources. And what do you get out of this? Ji-woo studied her with those obsidian eyes, and she had the unsettling sensation of being catalogued, assessed, understood. Peace of mind. Knowing I didn't ignore someone who needed help. That's enough. It shouldn't have been. Men like him, dangerous men with power and violence at their fingertips, didn't help strangers without expecting something in return. But looking at him now, at the careful way he'd positioned himself across the island to give her space, at the coffee made exactly how she liked it despite having no way to know her preferences, she believed him. I was a waitress, she said suddenly. At a diner in Wicker Park. Derek didn't like me working there. Said the tips I made serving those people embarrassed him. So I quit. And then I couldn't afford my half of the rent, so I got dependent on him, and then... She trailed off, the familiar shame rising. And then he had leverage. Jiwoo's voice was flat, factual. That's how abusers work. They isolate, create dependency, and use it as a weapon. You're not stupid for falling for it, Mia. You're human. He's the one who should be ashamed. The validation hit harder than expected. She blinked back unexpected tears. Eat something, Jiwoo said gently, pushing a plate of sliced fruit and croissants toward her. You'll feel better with food. They ate in comfortable silence, and Mia found herself watching him, the precise way he moved, the controlled strength in every gesture, the way his eyes constantly tracked his surroundings even in his own home. Can I ask you something? She said. Yes. Why do they call you the Iron Lotus? His expression shifted, something dangerous and amused flickering across his features. Because lotus flowers grow in mud and filth but bloom pure and beautiful. And iron is unbreakable. I built an empire from nothing, in a city that didn't want me, and I did it without compromising who I am. The name, it stuck. Are you unbreakable? No one is. He met her eyes. But I've learned to bend without breaking. There's a difference. The tablet buzzed. Jiwoo glanced at it, his expression darkening almost imperceptibly. Problem? Mia asked. Your ex-boyfriend's father is Charles Morrison. Federal prosecutor. Connected, powerful, and very interested in knowing why his son was found zip-tied in an apartment with a broken nose. Mia's stomach dropped. Oh God. I didn't know. It doesn't matter. Jiwoo's voice was calm, but something predatory had entered his posture. Charles Morrison has been trying to build a case against my organization for 3 years. This gives him motivation, but it doesn't give him leverage. His son assaulted you. That's documented. Anything else is speculation. He'll come after you. He'll try. Jiwoo smiled, and it was not a kind expression. Let him. I've been fighting men like Charles Morrison my entire life. He doesn't scare me. But Mia was scared. Not of Jiwoo. Of the realization that by texting that wrong number, she'd drag herself into something much bigger than a broken arm and an abusive ex. She'd stepped into a war. And the Iron Lotus was just getting started. 3 days passed in a strange, suspended reality. Mia healed in Jiwoo's penthouse, her cast a constant reminder of how her life had fractured and reformed in the space of a single night. The pain medication made everything soft-edged, but beneath the pharmaceutical haze, her mind was working. She explored the penthouse when Jiwoo was gone, which was often, always with quiet instructions to his men stationed outside the door. The space was immaculate, expensive, and utterly impersonal except for one room. The study. She found it by accident on day 2, door slightly ajar, revealing floor-to-ceiling bookshelves and a massive desk with multiple monitors. One wall was covered in what looked like a conspiracy board, photos, documents, strings connecting names and places. Mia knew she shouldn't look. Knew it was a violation of privacy, of trust, of the unspoken agreement between them. She looked anyway. The central photo was of a young woman, maybe 16, with Jiwoo's eyes and a smile that lit up the frame. His sister. Around her were crime scene photos, police reports, autopsy documents. Park Sun-hae. Died at 17. Cause of death, blunt force trauma. Perpetrator, boyfriend, Lee Min-jun, who received 3 years for involuntary manslaughter after an expensive lawyer convinced a jury it was an accident. Mia's stomach twisted. Beneath Sun-hae's photo was a more recent image, Lee Min-jun, adult now, successful in a business suit. And a red X through his face. His sentence ended 4 years ago. Mia spun. Jiwoo stood in the doorway, expression unreadable. "I'm sorry," she said quickly. "I shouldn't have. He died in a car accident 6 months after his release." Jiwoo entered the room, moving to stand beside her, staring at his sister's photo. Single vehicle collision. No witnesses. Very tragic. The implication hung heavy between them. "Did you? Justice doesn't always come from courtrooms, Mia." He said it simply, without apology. Sometimes it comes from people who refuse to let the system fail twice. She should have been horrified. Should have been running for the door, calling the police, doing anything except standing here next to a man who'd just admitted to murder. Instead, she found herself thinking about Derek. About how many women he'd probably hurt before her. About how many he'd hurt after if someone didn't stop him. "Your sister," Mia said quietly. "What was she like?" Jiwoo's expression softened imperceptibly. "Bright. Too bright for the world we lived in. She wanted to be a doctor. Used to practice bandaging my scraped knuckles after fights, telling me I was an idiot for solving problems with my fists." He touched the photo gently. "She was right. But some problems only understand violence. I'm sorry you lost her. I'm sorry it took losing her to understand how to help people like you." He turned to face Mia fully. "That board isn't about revenge anymore. It's about patterns. Men like Lee Min-jun, like Derek Morrison, they don't stop. They escalate. So I track them. And when they cross certain lines, I make sure they can't cross anymore. You kill them. Sometimes. Sometimes I just make them wish they were dead. Depends on the circumstances." He said it with the casual honesty she was beginning to recognize as his default. "Does that terrify you?" Mia considered. She should say yes. Should be backing away from this man who casually discussed murder like it was a business transaction. "No," she admitted. "It should. But it doesn't." "Is that wrong?" "It's human." Jiwoo's hand came up, almost touching her face before he caught himself and let it drop. "You've been hurt by someone who faced no consequences. Of course you want justice. The question is whether you can live with my kind of justice." "What is your kind of justice?" "Permanent. Brutal. And utterly certain." His obsidian eyes held hers. "I don't believe in rehabilitation for certain crimes. I believe in elimination." The words should have chilled her. Instead, they sparked something fierce and hungry in her chest, something that had been growing since she watched Derek crumple under Jiwoo's efficient violence. "Teach me," she said. Jiwoo's eyebrows rose fractionally. "Teach you what?" "How to fight. How to protect myself. How to make sure no one ever hurts me again." Mia stepped closer, using her good hand to gesture at the board. "You track these men. You stop them." "I want to help." "No. Why not? Because you're healing. Because you're not part of this world. Because once you cross certain lines, Mia, you don't get to go back. Maybe I don't want to go back. Her voice was stronger now, fed by weeks of suppressed rage finally finding an outlet. Maybe I'm tired of being weak. Of being a victim. Of letting men like Derek decide my worth. Jiwoo studied her for a long moment, and she could see him assessing, calculating, deciding. You have no idea what you're asking, he finally said. Then show me. Something shifted in his expression, surprise, respect, and something darker she couldn't quite name. Okay, he said softly. But not today. Today you rest. Tomorrow, we start your education. Jiwoo's idea of education started with paperwork. Before you learn to fight, you learn to think, he said the next morning, spreading documents across the dining table. This is Derek Morrison's financial life. Bank statements, credit cards, investment accounts, property records. Study them. Find the vulnerabilities. Mia stared at the papers, her good hand hovering over columns of numbers. You want me to, what? Steal from him? I want you to understand that violence isn't always physical. Sometimes the most devastating attacks are financial, reputational, social. Jiwoo sat across from her, his presence commanding even in casual clothes. Derek Morrison has a trust fund. He has investments. He has a life he's built on his father's money and influence. Take that away, and you take away his power. Is that legal? Some of it. The rest. He smiled slightly. Let me worry about legality. You focus on finding the pressure points. It took Mia 3 hours to map Derek's financial life, using the laptop Jiwoo provided and her own growing fascination with the interconnected web of money and power. Derek wasn't as rich as she'd thought. Most of his wealth was tied up in his father's accounts, contingent on good behavior and family approval. He's dependent, she said finally, looking up to find Jiwoo watching her with those assessing eyes. On his father's approval, on maintaining his reputation. Everything he has is conditional. Good. What's the vulnerability? His father is a federal prosecutor. He can't afford scandal. If Derek's assault became public, if there were witnesses, if, she paused, pieces clicking together. You already have this documented. The restraining order. You could leak it. I could. But that's my move. What's yours? Mia studied the documents again, her mind working. The trust fund. It has a morality clause. If Derek is convicted of a violent crime, he loses access until he completes anger management and probation. And you want him convicted. I want him to face consequences. She met Jiwoo's eyes. Real ones. Not just being scared for a few days. Jiwoo leaned back, something approving in his expression. Then we build a case that's airtight. We find other women he's hurt. We document everything. And we make sure when it hits his father's desk, Charles Morrison has to choose between protecting his son and protecting his reputation. He'll choose his reputation. Men like Charles Morrison always do. Jiwoo stood, collecting the documents. Welcome to strategic warfare, Mia-chan. This is how you destroy someone without throwing a single punch. The satisfaction that bloomed in her chest was dark and heady. This was power. Not physical strength, but the ability to dismantle someone's life with precision and patience. Over the next week, Mia became a student of revenge. Jiwoo taught her to read people, body language, microexpressions, the small tells that revealed truth beneath lies. He taught her to move quietly, to observe without being observed, to blend into spaces she didn't belong. His men, silent, efficient, utterly loyal, became her unwitting practice subjects. She learned to track their patterns, predict their movements, understand the unspoken communication of a well-oiled criminal organization. And at night, after Ji-woo thought she was asleep, Mia worked on her own project. She found them online, women Derek had dated before her. 3 of them. All with similar stories of escalating control, verbal abuse, and in one case, a hospital visit explained away as a clumsy accident. Mia reached out carefully, using anonymous accounts, offering them what she wished someone had offered her, proof that they weren't alone. That it wasn't their fault. And that someone was finally willing to hold Derek Morrison accountable. 2 of them responded. By the end of week 2, Mia had testimony from 3 women, medical records she'd obtained through means she didn't examine too closely, and documentation of Derek's pattern of abuse stretching back 6 years. She presented it to Ji-woo on a Tuesday morning, laying the file on his desk with quiet satisfaction. He reviewed it in silence, his expression unreadable, and when he finally looked up, there was something in his eyes that made her breath catch. "You did this yourself. You taught me how. I taught you theory. You executed it." He stood, moving around the desk to stand in front of her. "This is enough to destroy him, Mia. His trust fund, his reputation, his future. Are you sure this is what you want?" "I'm sure." Ji-woo studied her face, searching for doubt or hesitation. She gave him none. "Okay," he said softly. "Then let's burn his world to ash." The destruction of Derek Morrison took 3 days and happened in carefully orchestrated stages. Day 1, Ji-woo's lawyers filed formal charges with the district attorney's office, bypassing Charles Morrison entirely. The documentation was thorough: 3 victims, medical evidence, a pattern of escalating violence. By noon, Derek was in custody. Mia watched the news coverage from Ji-woo's penthouse, her cast-wrapped arm resting on her lap, and felt nothing but cold satisfaction. "His father is calling in favors," Ji-woo said, reading updates on his tablet. "Trying to make this go away quietly. Will it work?" "No." He showed her the screen, leaked documents appearing on legal blogs, social media, victim advocacy forums. "Because I made sure it couldn't stay quiet." Day 2, the trust fund froze. Derek's assets were seized pending trial. His father released a statement distancing himself from his son's alleged actions. "He's choosing self-preservation," Mia observed. "They always do." Ji-woo sat beside her on the couch, close enough that she could smell cedar and something darker. "How does it feel?" "Powerful. Terrifying." "Right." She turned to look at him. "Thank you. You did this, Mia. I just provided the tools. You provided everything. Safety, time, education." She shifted to face him fully. "Why? Really? You said it was about your sister, but this..." She gestured at the penthouse, at the case documents, at the world he'd opened for her. "This is more than answering a desperate text." Ji-woo was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, "I've been watching you for 3 months." The words hung between them, heavy with implication. "What?" "You work at that diner in Wicker Park." "I own the building. I was there for a meeting with the owner, and I saw you. Saw how you moved through the space, how you smiled at customers even when you were exhausted, how you played peacemaker when things got heated." His obsidian eyes held hers. And I saw the bruises you tried to hide. The way you flinched when Derek picked you up. The fear underneath the smile. Mia's heart was hammering. You've been watching me. Yes. I had my men run a background check on Derek Morrison. Found a pattern of abuse, the previous complaints that went nowhere because of his father's influence. I was planning to intervene. And then you sent me that text, and suddenly I didn't have to find a reason to help you. You asked for help yourself. That's stalking. Yes. He didn't apologize, didn't try to soften it. I'm not a good man, Mia. I'm obsessive and controlling and I solve problems with violence. But I saw someone who needed protection, and I couldn't look away. I never learned how to look away. She should have been horrified. Should have been calling the police, except the police wouldn't have helped her. Nobody had helped her until this dangerous man with obsidian eyes and careful hands had materialized from a wrong number. Show me, she said. Show you what? The surveillance. The files. Whatever you have. If you've been watching me, I want to see how you see me. Jiwoo studied her for a long moment, then stood and held out his hand. Okay. But Mia, once you see this, you can't unsee it. And you understand exactly how deep my obsession runs. She took his hand. The study was different now that she knew its purpose. Jiwoo opened a locked drawer and pulled out a slim file. Inside were photos. Mia at the diner, laughing with a customer. Mia walking to her apartment, shoulders hunched against November wind. Mia in the grocery store, studying prices with careful concentration. You photographed me. I documented your patterns. Where you felt safe, where you were vulnerable. How Derek controlled your movements. He pulled out another sheet, a timeline of their relationship, mapped with precision. I was building a case to remove him from your life. I just needed the right leverage. Mia flipped through the photos, seeing herself through his eyes. There was something almost reverent in the way they were taken, not invasive shots, but careful observations. Her laughing. Her thinking. Her existing in moments of unguarded humanity. You're insane, she said. Yes. This is stalking. Yes. I should be terrified of you. You should be. He moved closer, carefully telegraphing his approach. But are you? Mia looked up at him, at this dangerous man who'd broken into her life and remade it, and realized the truth. No. I'm not. Why not? Because you've had 1,000 opportunities to hurt me, and instead you've only protected me. Because you taught me to be strong instead of keeping me weak. Because, she stopped, the words catching in her throat. Because. Jiwoo's voice was soft, careful. Because when I look at you, I don't see a monster. I see someone who understands what it means to be broken and chooses to use that brokenness to protect others. His hand came up, cupping her face with devastating gentleness. You're not broken, Mia. Neither are you. I am. Profoundly. Irreparably. Then we are both broken. She leaned into his touch, her heart racing. Maybe that's okay. Mia. Her name was a warning and a prayer. Yes. If we do this, if we cross this line, there's no going back. You'll be mine, and I'll be yours, and I don't know how to love like a normal person. I only know how to be obsessive and possessive and, she kissed him. It was clumsy with the cast, desperate with 3 weeks of building tension, and absolutely perfect. Jiwoo froze for a heartbeat, then his hands were in her hair, his mouth moving against hers with controlled intensity that made her knees weak. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, his forehead rested against hers. "Say it again," he whispered. "Say my name like that." "Ji-woo." He shuddered. "We should talk about this. About what it means. About the risks." "I know the risks. I'm choosing you anyway." "You're still healing, then hold me while I heal." She pulled back enough to meet his eyes. "I don't need you to be good, Ji-woo. I need you to be honest. And you've been more honest with me than anyone in my life." His thumb traced her cheekbone, reverent and possessive. "Okay. But we do this right. No rushing. No making decisions while you're still processing trauma." "How long?" "As long as it takes." He kissed her forehead, achingly gentle. "I've waited 3 months. I can wait longer. You're worth waiting for, Mia-chan." Day 3 of Derek Morrison's destruction was when everything changed. Mia woke to the sound of Ji-woo's voice, sharp and commanding in Korean. She found him in his study, surrounded by monitors, his expression darker than she'd ever seen. "What's wrong?" He looked up, and something in his eyes made her stomach drop. "Charles Morrison is filing a countersuit. Claims I orchestrated Derek's assault, that my organization has been targeting his family, that this is organized crime intimidation." "Can he prove it?" "He doesn't need to prove it. He just needs to create reasonable doubt." Ji-woo's jaw tightened. "He's good at his job, Mia. And he's motivated. This could get complicated." "How complicated?" "The kind where you might need to testify. Where your past with Derek becomes public. Where every detail of your assault gets dissected in court." He stood, moving toward her. "I can protect you from a lot of things, but I can't protect you from the legal system once Charles Morrison decides to weaponize it." Mia's cast suddenly felt heavier, a physical reminder of how she'd gotten here. "So what do? We fight. We document everything. And we make sure Charles Morrison understands that coming after my people has consequences." His hands gentle on her shoulders. "But Mia, you need to understand, this could get dangerous. Charles Morrison isn't just a prosecutor. He has connections to organizations that would love to take me down. This might be the excuse they've been waiting for." "You think he'll come after you physically?" "I think he'll use every resource at his disposal to protect his son and destroy me in the process." Ji-woo's expression was grim. "And that means you're at risk by association." Fear lanced through her, cold and sharp. "Maybe I should leave. Go somewhere else. Let this blow over." "No." The word was immediate, absolute. "Running won't protect you. Charles Morrison knows you're connected to me now. Leaving just makes you vulnerable. You stay here, where I can keep you safe." "For how long?" "As long as it takes." His hands tightened fractionally. "I told you I don't let people bleed in my city. That includes you, Mia. Especially you." The possessiveness in his voice should have been alarming. Instead, it was oddly comforting. "Okay," she said. "Then we fight." Ji-woo's expression softened. "We fight. Together." The together settled into her chest, warm and certain. That afternoon, Ji-woo's lawyer arrived, a sharp woman named Sarah Kim who looked at Mia with assessing eyes that missed nothing. "You're the victim," Sarah said, spreading documents across the dining table. "That's our strongest position. Derek Morrison assaulted you. You have medical documentation, witnesses, and a pattern of abuse. Charles Morrison can paint Ji-woo as a criminal all he wants, but he can't erase what his son did to you. What do you need from me? Mia asked. Your story. Complete, detailed, unvarnished. Sarah's expression was kind but firm. Everything Derek did, everything you experienced. I need to know what Charles Morrison will find when he starts digging. So Mia talked. About the first time Derek had grabbed her wrist hard enough to bruise. About the escalating control, the isolation from friends, the carefully constructed cage he'd built around her life. About the night he broke her arm and how a wrong number had saved her. Sarah listened, taking notes, occasionally asking clarifying questions. When Mia finished, the lawyer sat back with a satisfied expression. This is good. Charles Morrison has nothing. His son is a repeat abuser, documented and corroborated. The fact that Ji-woo intervened doesn't change the underlying crime. We're solid. Then why does this feel like we're about to go to war? Mia asked. Because we are, Ji-woo said quietly. Charles Morrison isn't just fighting for his son. He's fighting to protect his reputation. And men like him will burn everything to the ground rather than admit their families are flawed. Sarah nodded. He'll try to make this about Ji-woo's organization. About criminal elements and vigilante justice. We counter by keeping the focus on Derek's actions and Mia's victimization. The narrative is our weapon. And if he tries to hurt Mia. Ji-woo's voice was flat, dangerous. Then he's committed witness intimidation, and I bury him. Sarah smiled slightly. I'm very good at my job, Ji-woo. Trust me. But trust was hard when Mia could see the tension in Ji-woo's shoulders, the way his eyes constantly tracked movement, the increased presence of his men in the building. That night, she found him on the balcony, staring out at the city below. The November wind was bitter, but he didn't seem to notice. Can't sleep, she asked, joining him. Thinking about contingencies. Charles Morrison is unpredictable. Dangerous when cornered. Are you worried? I'm always worried. It's what keeps me alive. He glanced at her, expression softening. You should be inside. It's cold. So should you. I don't feel cold. But he moved closer, blocking the wind with his body. Mia, I need you to promise me something. What? If this goes bad, if Charles Morrison escalates beyond legal maneuvering, you leave. You let me get you somewhere safe, and you won't argue. No. Ji-woo's eyes narrowed. No. I'm not running. Not from Derek, not from his father, not from whatever consequences come from standing beside you. She stepped closer, using her good hand to grip his shirt. You told me you saw me at that diner. That you couldn't look away. Well, I see you now, Ji-woo. And I'm not looking away either. His breath caught. You don't know what you're saying. I know exactly what I'm saying. You're dangerous and obsessive and you solve problems with violence. You've killed people. You run a criminal organization. You're everything I should be afraid of. Her voice dropped. And I've never felt safer than I do right now, standing here with you. Mia. Her name was rough, breaking. I'm not leaving. So stop asking me to. Ji-woo's hands came up, framing her face, and when he kissed her this time, it was different. Desperate. Claiming. A promise and a warning wrapped together. When they finally broke apart, his forehead rested against hers, their breath mingling in the cold night air. You're going to ruin me, he whispered. Good. You ruined me first. His laugh was soft, surprised. When? The moment you said I'm coming. The moment you kneeled on my bathroom floor. The moment you taught me I could be strong and scared at the same time. She pulled back enough to meet his eyes. You showed me who I could be, Jiwoo. Now let me show you who you could be. And who's that? Someone who doesn't have to carry everything alone. She touched the scar bisecting his eyebrow, gentle and reverent. Someone who can be dangerous and soft. Someone who deserves to be loved. His eyes closed, and for a moment, he looked devastated. I don't know how to be that. Then we'll figure it out together. She rose on her toes, kissed him softly. No more separate rooms, Jiwoo. No more pretending this is just protection. I want you. All of you. The monster and the man. He looked at her for a long moment, searching her face for doubt or fear. Found none. Okay, he finally whispered. Okay, Mia-chan. We'll do this your way. Together. Together, she agreed. And something between them clicked into place, inevitable, dangerous, and absolutely right. The next morning brought visitors. Mia was in the kitchen making coffee when Jiwoo's phone buzzed. She watched his expression shift from relaxed to alert in seconds. We have a problem, he said, already moving toward the security monitors. What kind of problem? Charles Morrison is downstairs. With federal agents. They have a warrant. Mia's stomach dropped. For what? Everything. Jiwoo's hands flew over the keyboard, pulling up security feeds. Financial records, communications, surveillance. This is a full-scale raid, Mia. He's not playing around. What do we do? You stay here. Let me handle this. He was already pulling on a suit jacket, checking his phone for lawyer contacts. Sarah is on her way. Don't answer any questions without her present. Jiwoo, he kissed her, hard and fast. Trust me. I've been preparing for this for years. Charles Morrison thinks he's cornered me. He has no idea how many contingencies I have. Then he was gone, moving with that predatory grace toward the elevator. Mia watched on the monitors as Jiwoo met the federal agents in the lobby, calm, controlled, every inch the legitimate businessman. Charles Morrison stood behind them, his expression smug and satisfied. They spoke for 5 minutes. Jiwoo handed over his phone, his laptop, his keys, cooperative to a fault. Sarah arrived, exchanged words with the agents, and stayed close to Jiwoo's side. Then Charles Morrison saw Mia on the security feed. She watched his expression change, watched him say something to the lead agent, watched them all turn toward the elevator. Her phone buzzed. Jiwoo's text, stay calm. Answer nothing. I'm coming up with them. 3 minutes later, federal agents were in Jiwoo's penthouse. Miss Chan, Charles Morrison said, his voice professionally cordial. I'm Federal Prosecutor Charles Morrison. I'd like to ask you some questions about your relationship with Kong Jiwoo. Sarah stepped between them immediately. My client won't be answering any questions without proper legal counsel present. Your client? Charles's eyebrows rose. Miss Chan, are you claiming to need a lawyer? That's interesting. Every citizen has the right to legal representation, Sarah said firmly. And given that you're currently raiding the home where Miss Chan is recovering from injuries inflicted by your son, I say she has every reason to be cautious. Charles's expression tightened. This isn't about Derek. Then what is it about? Jiwoo's voice was calm, dangerous. Because from where I'm standing, this looks like witness intimidation. You're using your federal resources to harass a victim because she dared to press charges against your son. I'm investigating credible allegations of organized crime, Charles countered. The fact that you're harboring my son's accuser is relevant to those investigations. Harboring? Mia's voice surprised even herself. I'm not being harbored. I'm staying here because your son broke my arm and knows where I live. Mr. Kong offered me a safe place to recover. That's called being a decent human being. Charles turned his full attention to her, and Mia understood why Jiwoo had called him dangerous. There was calculation in those eyes, and a cold intelligence that missed nothing. Miss Chen, my son claims you fabricated your injuries. That you and Mr. Kong orchestrated this entire situation to entrap him. Your son is lying. Mia held up her cast. This is real. The bruises I had before this happened were real. The 3 other women who've come forward with similar stories are real. Your son is a serial abuser, Mr. Morrison. And the only thing Mr. Kong did was help me when no one else would. By breaking into your apartment and assaulting Derek? By stopping Derek from doing worse. Your son had just broken my arm, Mr. Morrison. What exactly did you expect me to do? Call the police? We both know how that would have gone. I'd have been the crazy ex-girlfriend making false accusations, and Derek would have walked away clean. Again. Sarah touched Mia's shoulder in warning, but the anger was flowing now, hot and righteous. Your son is abusive, Mia continued. And you've enabled him by making sure he never faced consequences. Well, not anymore. I'm pressing charges. Other women are pressing charges. And if you want to waste federal resources trying to protect him, that says more about you than it does about Mr. Kong. The silence that followed was electric. Charles Morrison's expression had gone glacial. You're making a mistake, Miss Chen. Aligning yourself with a known criminal, if he's a known criminal, why hasn't he been charged? Sarah interrupted. In fact, Mr. Kong has no criminal record. He's a legitimate businessman with extensive ties to the Korean American community. So unless you have actual evidence of wrongdoing, I suggest you leave my clients alone and focus on the actual crime, your son's pattern of violence against women. The lead federal agent, who'd been silent this entire time, cleared his throat. We have what we need for now. Mr. Morrison, we should go. Charles Morrison didn't move, his eyes locked on Jiwoo. This isn't over. No, Jiwoo agreed, his voice silk over steel. It's not. But when it is, your son will be in prison, and you'll have to live with the knowledge that you chose protecting a predator over protecting his victims. That's a legacy that won't fade, Charles. No matter how many people like me you take down. The threat hung in the air, undeniable. Charles Morrison left with the federal agents, and the moment the elevator doors closed, Mia's knees gave out. Jiwoo caught her, holding her steady. You did good. So good, Mia. I should have kept quiet. Shouldn't have provoked him, you told the truth. That's never wrong. He guided her to the couch, sat beside her, kept his arm around her shoulders. And you just made it very clear that you're not an unwilling victim being manipulated by me. That's crucial for Sarah's case. Sarah nodded, already making notes on her tablet. Charles Morrison just made a mistake. He came here expecting to find a cult victim. Instead, he found a woman who's willing to fight. That changes the narrative. But he'll come after Jiwoo harder now, Mia said. Let him. Jiwoo's voice was calm, certain. I've been playing this game longer than Charles Morrison has been a prosecutor. He thinks he knows how to pressure criminals. What he doesn't understand is that I'm not afraid of exposure. I'm prepared for it. What does that mean? It means I have contingencies. Evidence in safe places, allies he doesn't know about, leverage he hasn't discovered yet. Jiwoo's smile was sharp. Charles Morrison thinks he's a predator. He's about to learn his prey. The war escalated over the next week. Charles Morrison filed motions, called press conferences, painted Jiwoo as a dangerous criminal preying on vulnerable women. The media ate it up. The narrative was too good to resist. Federal prosecutor versus Korean crime lord, abuse victim caught in the middle, justice versus vigilantism. Mia watched it unfold from Jiwoo's penthouse, her anger growing with each calculated lie Charles Morrison told. He's saying I'm brainwashed, she said, staring at the TV where Charles was giving yet another interview. That you've manipulated me into false testimony. He's desperate. Jiwoo sat beside her, his presence calm and grounding. Desperate men make mistakes. What mistakes is he making? He's assuming I'm isolated. That I don't have support in the legal community, in law enforcement, in places he thinks belong to people like him. Jiwoo pulled up his tablet, showing her a series of documents. But I've been building relationships for 20 years, Mia. Judges who respect me, cops who know I keep my territory clean, prosecutors who've seen me do more good than harm. Charles Morrison is about to find out that being federal doesn't make you untouchable. You're going after him. I'm exposing him. There's a difference. Jiwoo showed her financial records, email exchanges, documented proof of Charles Morrison using his position to protect Derek from previous assault complaints. He's been covering for his son for years. Making complaints disappear, pressuring victims to recant, using his federal authority as a personal shield. I'm just making sure people see what he's actually been doing. Mia studied the documents, seeing the pattern emerge. This could destroy his career. Yes. And it should. Men who abuse their power to protect abusers don't deserve that power. Is this revenge? Jiwoo met her eyes. This is justice. The kind that actually works, instead of the kind that protects powerful men and forgets about everyone else. The documents went public the next day, leaked to investigative journalists who'd been looking for dirt on Charles Morrison for years. Within hours, the narrative shifted. Suddenly Charles Morrison wasn't a crusading prosecutor trying to bring down organized crime. He was a father who'd repeatedly abused his authority to protect his violent son. The victims who'd been silenced started speaking up, emboldened by Mia's example. The press conference where Charles Morrison tried to defend himself was brutal to watch. Mia found herself almost feeling sorry for him, almost, until she remembered the bruises Derek had left on her body, the terror of that night, the systematic way Charles had ensured his son never faced consequences. He's done, Sarah said, watching the press conference with satisfaction. The federal office is launching an internal investigation. Even if Derek's charges somehow get dropped, Charles Morrison's career is over. And Derek? Mia asked. Trial starts in 3 weeks. With 3 victims willing to testify, medical evidence, and now his father's credibility destroyed, he's looking at serious prison time. Sarah turned to Mia. You did this. You stood up when it mattered most. You should be proud. Mia looked at Jiwoo, who was watching her with something like awe in his obsidian eyes. I had help, she said quietly. You had tools, Jiwoo corrected. But you're the one who used them. You're the one who chose to fight instead of hide. That's all you, Mia. The pride in his voice made her chest tight. That night, After Sarah left and Jiwoo's men reported that Derek was officially in custody pending trial, Mia found herself on the balcony again, staring at the city below. Jiwoo joined her silently, his presence warm at her back. "It's not over," she said. "No. But we're winning." His arms came around her, careful of the cast. "How do you feel?" "Strong. Scared. Powerful. Guilty. Guilty. For enjoying this. For wanting to watch Derek's life burn." She turned in his arms. "Does that make me a bad person?" "It makes you human." "Derek hurt you?" "Repeatedly. Intentionally. Wanting him to face consequences doesn't make you bad, Mia. It makes you someone who values justice. Your kind of justice. The kind that actually works." He kissed her forehead. "But if you want to stop, if this is too much, we can." "No." The word was immediate, certain. "I want to see this through. I want Derek in prison. I want Charles Morrison to face consequences. I want—" She stopped, the words catching. "What do you want?" "To not be afraid anymore. To build something that can't be taken away. To know that I'm safe." She looked up at him. "To be with you without feeling like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop." Jiwoo's expression softened. "The other shoe will drop, Mia. I'm not a safe choice. My life is dangerous, my work is illegal, and people will always try to use you to get to me. I can't promise you safety." "Then what can you promise?" "That I'll fight for you. That I'll teach you to fight for yourself. That I'll never lie to you about who I am or what I'm capable of." His thumb traced her cheekbone. "And that as long as I'm breathing, no one hurts you without answering to me." "That's a dark promise, Jiwoo. I'm a dark man. But I'm your dark man, if you have me." Mia rose on her toes, kissed him softly. "I'll have you. Monster, man, and everything in between." His arms tightened around her, and for a moment, they just stood there, two broken people who'd found something whole in each other. "Come inside," Jiwoo murmured against her hair. "It's cold." "Carry me." He laughed, surprised and genuine. "Your arm is broken, not your legs." "I know. But I want you to carry me anyway." He did, lifting her with effortless strength, carrying her inside like she weighed nothing. And when he set her down on his bed, not the guest room, but his room, she understood the significance of the moment. "Stay with me tonight," she said. "Just stay. Hold me while I sleep." "Okay." He kicked off his shoes, lay down beside her, and pulled her against his chest with devastating gentleness. "Sleep, Mia. I'll be right here." She believed him. The next 3 weeks passed in a strange suspension of time. Derek's trial dominated the news cycle. Mia testified on day 5, her voice steady as she recounted the night he broke her arm, the months of escalating control, the fear that had defined their relationship. Derek's lawyer tried to paint her as a vindictive ex-lover working with a criminal to destroy an innocent man. Sarah demolished that narrative with medical evidence, testimony from other victims, and documentation of Derek's pattern of abuse. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. Mia sat in Jiwoo's penthouse and watched the verdict announcement on TV, and the satisfaction that bloomed in her chest was fierce and final. "He'll appeal," Jiwoo said quietly. "Let him. The evidence is solid. He's not getting out of this." Mia turned to him. "It's really over. The trial is. But we still have to decide what comes next." He took her good hand, his thumb tracing circles on her skin. Charles Morrison is facing ethics violations. Derek is going to prison for at least 5 years. You're safe now, Mia. Legally protected. You don't need my protection anymore. The words should have been relief. Instead, they felt like a loss. Are you asking me to leave? I'm asking what you want. Your apartment is still yours, my men have been maintaining it. You have options now. A life outside of this. He gestured at the penthouse, at the world he'd built around her. I don't want you to stay because you feel obligated or because you're still afraid. I want you to choose this, choose me, because it's what you actually want. Mia studied him, this dangerous, obsessive man who'd remade her life, taught her to fight, and shown her that safety and danger could coexist. I want you, she said simply. Not because you saved me. Not because I'm grateful or afraid or obligated. I want you because when I look at you, I see someone who understands what it means to be broken and chooses to build something beautiful from the wreckage. I want you because you make me feel strong and soft at the same time. I want you because, her voice broke. Because I love you, Jiwoo. And I think I have for a while now. His breath caught. Mia. Say it back or don't. But that's my truth. I love you. The good, the bad, the dangerous, and the tender. All of it. Jiwoo's hands framed her face, and when he spoke, his voice was rough with emotion. I love you. I've loved you since I saw you at that diner, smiling through exhaustion. I've loved you through every moment of watching you transform from survivor to warrior. I love your strength, your compassion, your ability to see past what I am to who I could be. He kissed her, soft and reverent. I love you, Mia-chan. Completely. Irrevocably. Forever. Then stop asking me to leave. I'm not asking you to leave. I'm asking you to stay. Fully. Knowingly. Choosing this life with all its complications. His forehead rested against hers. Marry me. The words hung between them, impossible and perfect. What? Marry me. Not for protection or legal strategy. Marry me because I can't imagine my life without you in it. Because you're the first good thing I've let myself want in 20 years. Because, he pulled back, meeting her eyes. Because I want to wake up next to you every morning and know that you're mine and I'm yours, and nothing can change that. Jiwoo, we've known each other for 2 months, I've been watching you for 5 months. I fell in love with you the first time I saw you laugh. I knew I wanted forever with you the moment you texted me asking for help. His hands tightened fractionally. I know it's fast. I know it's insane. But I'm an insane man asking an extraordinary woman to take a chance on him. What do you say? Mia should have said no. Should have asked for time, for space, for a chance to process everything that had happened. Instead, she said, yes. Jiwoo's expression transformed, surprise, joy, relief, and something so tender it made her chest ache. Yes. Yes. I'll marry you. I'll build a life with you. I'll choose you every single day. She kissed him, pouring every ounce of feeling into it. But on one condition. Anything. We do it right. Real ceremony, real vows, real celebration. Not a courthouse or a contract. I want the world to know I chose you freely. Done. He kissed her again, deeper this time. I'll give you everything, Mia. Starting with my name, my protection, and every piece of my broken heart. I don't want the pieces. I want the whole thing, broken, scarred, and imperfect. It's yours. It's always been yours. They kiss again, and this time it was different, not desperate or claiming, but certain. A promise sealed in the space between their lips, in the warmth of shared breath, in the knowledge that they'd chosen each other despite every logical reason not to. When they finally broke apart, Ji-woo pulled out his phone and made a call. Sarah. I need you to draft a prenup that protects Mia's assets, ensures her independence, and makes sure she's taken care of regardless of what happens to me or my organization. He paused, listening. Yes, I'm serious. We're getting married. Properly married. And I want her protected from every possible consequence of being associated with me. Mia listened to him systematically ensure her safety, her future, her freedom to leave if she ever chose to, and fell even deeper in love with this impossible man who'd crashed into her life through a wrong number. When he ended the call, she pulled him back to her. Make love to me. Mia, I'm healed. The cast comes off in 2 days. And I'm tired of waiting. I want you. Now. Completely. Ji-woo studied her face, searching for doubt. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Okay. He stood, held out his hand. But we're doing this my way. Slow. Thorough. I want to memorize every sound you make, every way your body responds to mine. This isn't about need, Mia. It's about worship. She took his hand, let him lead her to his bedroom, and learned that the Iron Lotus knew exactly how to be gentle and devastating at the same time. The wedding happened 6 weeks later, on a perfect December day when Chicago's winter was crisp but not brutal. Ji-woo had offered to plan something elaborate, cathedral, designer dress, 500% guest list. Mia had chosen something smaller. An intimate ceremony at a Korean American community center, surrounded by Ji-woo's found family and the few people Mia trusted. She wore emerald green, Ji-woo's favorite color on her, with her hair loose and natural. The cast was finally gone, replaced by a thin scar on her wrist that she'd learned to see as a badge of survival rather than shame. Ji-woo stood at the altar in a perfectly tailored black suit, his eyes tracking her every movement as she walked toward him. No one gave her away. She walked alone, claiming this choice as her own. The vows were traditional, but when Ji-woo slid the ring onto her finger, his grandmother's emerald, resized and polished, he added, I promise to be your safe place and your greatest challenge. To fight beside you, never against you. To love you in the quiet moments and the storms. You texted the wrong number, Mia-chan. But you found exactly the right person. Mia's vows were simpler, I choose you. Today, tomorrow, and every day after. In danger and in peace. In darkness and in light. I choose you, Kong Ji-woo. Always. When they kissed, it was to applause and the flash of cameras, and Mia felt something click into place, not just in her relationship with Ji-woo, but in herself. She was no longer the woman who'd cowered on a bathroom floor. She was Mrs. Kong, wife of the Iron Lotus, and she'd fought for every piece of that identity. The reception was small but joyful. Ji-woo's men toasted them with genuine affection. Sarah gave a speech about justice and love that made Mia cry. And when they danced, Ji-woo held her like she was precious and unbreakable at the same time. No regrets, he murmured against her ear. None. You. Only that I didn't find you sooner. He pulled back enough to meet her eyes. But we have forever now to make up for lost time. Forever, Mia agreed. Later, in the penthouse that was now officially theirs, Ji-woo carried her over the threshold with a reverence that made her laugh. We already live here, she pointed out. Doesn't matter. Some traditions are worth keeping. He sat her down, pulled her close. Besides, I've been waiting weeks to carry you into our bedroom as my wife. Then what are you waiting for? Ji-woo showed her exactly what he'd been waiting for: tenderness and passion, restraint and abandon, the perfect balance of gentle and devastating that defined everything about their relationship. And afterward, wrapped in each other's arms, Mia felt something she'd never expected to feel again. Safe. Loved. Home. Epilogue. 6 months later, Mia stood in the kitchen of their penthouse, making breakfast and listening to Ji-woo handle business calls in Korean. Some things never changed. He was still dangerous, still running his organization, still the Iron Lotus who commanded respect and fear in equal measure. But he was also the man who brought her coffee exactly how she liked it, who'd taught her to defend herself while respecting her boundaries, who knelt beside her every night and thanked her for choosing him. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I'm scared. He hurt me again. I don't know what to do. Mia's heart clenched. She showed the text to Ji-woo, who read it and immediately shifted into action mode. Track the number. Find the location. I want details in 10 minutes. Then he looked at Mia, something understanding in his obsidian eyes. What do you want to do? She thought about that night 6 months ago. The terror, the pain, the desperate text to a wrong number that had changed everything. I want to help her. The way you helped me. Ji-woo's smile was fierce and proud. Then let's answer. Mia typed carefully, you texted the right number. Stay where you are. We're coming. You're not alone anymore. The response came in seconds. Who are you? Mia looked at Ji-woo, at their life, at the foundation they'd built from broken pieces. She typed, someone who understands. Someone who escaped. Someone who's going to make sure you get out too. My name is Mia Kong. And I promise you, help is on the way. Ji-woo pulled her close, kissed the top of her head. Ready to save someone else? Always. They moved toward the door together, the Iron Lotus and his queen, ready to answer the next desperate call. Because some wrong numbers were actually fate, and some broken people were meant to find each other. And in the city of Chicago, where danger and hope walked hand in hand, Mia and Ji-woo had become something neither expected, proof that even the darkest love stories could have happy endings. If you were brave enough to fight for them. And that, my beautiful souls, is how a desperate text became a love story. That's how a waitress with a broken arm became a queen. How a monster learned that love doesn't require perfection, just honesty, protection, and the courage to choose each other every single day. If this story grabbed you by the throat and refused to let go, if you felt every heartbeat, every fear, every moment of devastating hope, then you know what to do. Smash that like button because this kind of love deserves to be celebrated. Hit subscribe because we're just getting started with stories that will ruin you in the best possible way. And drop a comment telling me which moment destroyed you most. Was it the bathroom floor rescue, Ji-woo's obsession confession, or that final text proving their story had come full circle? I need to know because your girl here is absolutely wrecked, and I want you wrecked right alongside me. Until next time, remember, the most dangerous love stories are the ones that make you believe in second chances. Now go forth and be absolutely feral about this. I'll see you in the next tale.